Welcome back, everybody, to JH Consulting. And I just want to start by saying, not to confuse everyone, but I know we do a variety of things here at JH Consulting with our marketing and information. So if you're new to JH Consulting, you can find us all over Instagram, Facebook. I have Facebook as well. And all our advisors have their own Instagram handles. So you can find your own advisor there if you're one of our clients underneath your advisor, or you can follow me as well. And then from there, we are also on YouTube. And so you'll see this video there. And we're also doing, I do a podcast and I do what's called a recruiting workshop. So the recruiting workshops are kind of twice a month, I would say on average. And those are announced through our newsletter. So there's lots of places to find us. And the newsletter is really the best place. So you can just go to jhicksconsulting.com, click on uh, a box that will pop up. You can put your email in there, and then every Wednesday, we only usually put that out on Wednesdays, and it'll have our basic information about, especially the workshop and anything that's going on that week. And then it also shows some of our new clients. So if you have a daughter who's new to JH Consulting, we try to, put different highlighted girls on there. We put summer camp information. We also have a summer camp information page on our website. You can click on the website and you'll see camps at the top. Click on that. It'll show probably not all of them, but quite a few. So you can find us in all different places. But I am starting to post these type of videos on YouTube now. So welcome, Andy. Andy is here. Do you know how many years you've been with JH Consulting?
I started, I want to say like fall 2020, so five and
Oh,
a half years, coming up on
wow.
six maybe. So yeah.
Almost six. That's
Mhm.
amazing. And maybe you can share a little bit with our audience, your background for people who are new.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've worn a couple different hats in all of this, but
Mhm.
ultimately I got my whole gymnastics journey is that I was a level 10 gymnast in Southern California. First one at my gym to think about the idea of college gymnastics. So went through this whole process having no idea what we were doing. But I had a very positive experience with recruiting and I ended up competing on scholarship for UC Davis.
Mhm.
And from there, just fell in love with college gymnastics as a whole. Started coaching, and I've coached at Ball State University, Utah State University, and the Air Force Academy. And then I also actually worked on the administrative side of things with athletics. So I worked in the student athlete academic support at Utah State as well. And that gave me a whole different perspective on the recruiting process and some of the other behind the scenes things that aren't as glamorous, but brought up some really good just questions and things that I incorporate into my advising now as well. And then when we decided to start a family and kind of shift my role a little bit, I reached out to Jill, who I had
Mhm.
known for years, both as college coach when I was competing, and then also when I was a college coach. I would reach out to Jill about her clients and just kind of ask those things. So it made a lot of sense to me to switch into this role, and I've loved being advisor ever since.
We are so lucky to have you. In fact, I don't know if I did a post recently about our advisors and your backgrounds. And I'm telling you, we are so fortunate here at JH Consulting because I do feel like we have a wealth of knowledge, but we have the true experiences for the most part. We've almost all been athletes prior to college. Then many of us were college athletes, many of us were college coaches. And I don't know about you, but when I'm working with a family and they ask me questions, I can tell in their eyes it's like such a big undertaking to do the process. And for us, because we've been in it for so long, it's natural for us to either find out the answer or we've experienced it ourselves as athletes, coaches, or administrators. So I love having all that with you, Andy, a part of JH Consulting, because even our team meetings, I feel like you bring so much information, to the table. And we do collaborate a lot.
Mhm.
And it just, it really feels like a family, but it also feels like I can send you guys back out there with a lot of different clients and know that you're going to do a great job because of your experiences in the past, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I love the collaborative element of this because it is so nice to say, oh, I don't have that direct connection, or I know an idea of this, but I know one of the advisors knows about this. I can reach out to them. And it's just nice that, we all come from, we have a lot of shared experiences, but we also
Mhm.
have shared experiences maybe in different areas and have
Mhm.
different connections. And
Mhm.
it's so great to be able to hop on our text thread and
Mhm.
just post a question and kind of go back and forth and dialogue a little bit. I think that makes us even more valuable because we're not just bringing our own knowledge, we're bringing a collective knowledge and wealth of experience to help these families.
It's also interesting, and I know because you've been at several colleges like me, I've been at two, which a lot of people have been at a lot more than that, but you've been at three, is that
Yeah,
right?
3.
Okay. Isn't it interesting, wouldn't you say, maybe you'd agree, how different the
Mhm.
experience can be as a coach? A lot of things are foundationally the same with the NCAA, but even styles within athletic departments are different.
Yeah,
Mm.
very much so. I was an athlete at a different school than any of the ones I coached at too. So it's that insight of some athletics departments are big and they have a ton of sports. Others have a small number, which means those staff meetings look different. You
Mhm.
know, they have different expectations from their administration
Mhm.
or from their compliance office. They're told to interpret rules, more strict, less strict, and different things like that. So yeah, there's even though, like you said, there's definitely like foundational things. I mean, obviously, everyone has to follow the same rules, but sometimes how they apply those rules and the way that works administratively can look different from school to school.
Mhm. I hadn't planned on bringing up the topic of Iowa State gymnastics, but I know it's on everybody's mind right now. And the one thing that keeps rolling through my head is, especially with the letter that came out yesterday, is
Yeah.
how confusing it is for the outsiders who don't know what really happened at that school. And I don't really want to go down that path, but I do look at that letter from the administrator and I think as a assistant coach and head coach, I would walk into my administrator's office every week and just say, both schools that I was at, how's it going? And what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And if I was going to have even an intense conversation with an athlete, or I was going to adjust something or have to confront an assistant coach as a head coach, I always went into my administrator first or sent an email.
Mhm.
And I don't know how everything broke down there, but it does seem like it's just sad to me that
Yeah.
that's happening to one of our, because we look at every single school, I do, as like a potential family for our clients, a place for them to, experience the best 4 years of their life. And it's just heartbreaking. And I don't think, I mean, I do happen to know a lot of the insight on that situation, but it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't just one group of people. It wasn't just the athletes. It wasn't just the parents. It's not just the administrators. And I just find it's really frightening. I just hope they keep the program.
Yeah.
I'm really worried by how that statement came out.
Mhm.
And I hope we can all learn from that situation and that it comes back stronger for it. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I had the same fears. As I said, that was my gut reaction was like, oh no. But
Mhm.
then, I've read it a couple times and I think it is, I appreciate the fact that they're saying like, we're going to try to get to the root cause of this. Because
Mhm.
if it's something that's happened over time and, they're really trying to figure that out. Unfortunately, they are still essentially a business and they're going to have to look at it from that perspective. But I at least appreciate that it sounds like they aren't going to be dismissive and they aren't just kind of, either trying to sweep it under the rug or just say, we aren't going to deal with it, move on. It
Mhm.
looks like they are, wanting to see where, underlying causes and
Mhm.
whether or not they're able to actually identify those, because that's hard sometimes.
Mhm.
I found myself appreciating the fact that they were open with saying like, look, this is a major issue and this is something we are definitely going to have to evaluate.
Mhm.
But they weren't ready to just say, look, we're going to cut the program tomorrow. They are
Right.
going to try to look into things.
Yeah. I'm so glad that KJ has the history there. I'm hoping
Mhm.
that will be a positive for
Mhm.
them to lean on, to talk to her, to you know, figure out how they can turn things around and get things back to a place where, it's healthy for everyone.
Yeah.
That's my hope.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a small community. It feels big as a parent and a recruit, the whole gymnastics and recruiting.
Mhm.
It feels so big. It's like they don't know, a lot of families don't know anything about the inside or the history or of what they're getting into. But we need every school to thrive
Yeah.
and do, a good job for all these girls coming up in the
Mhm.
in our programs. So um, I'm hoping things will be positive in the end for everybody.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We're all
All
involved. We
involved.
just want positive things.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
All right. So, how about if you share with us, you've been here 6 years almost. What do you like most about being an advisor?
Yeah. So there are two elements of this. One was just the fact that I had a tremendously positive experience as a student athlete.
Mhm.
Absolutely loved my time at my school, at my university, just everything about it. I really enjoyed that. So I want others to be able to experience that. And the other piece of it is I've had this fascination with recruiting. Even when I was an athlete, my coach jokingly, I used to send him recruits that I would find. I was still a current team member. And I'm like, I saw this person's video. I think you should take a look at him. And he just thought that was hilarious. And he would, always joke with me about that. But I think there's that element of, you know, f- it's the puzzling element, like, oh, she would be a good fit here. Oh, this would work out really good here. And I think it's the blending of that.
Mhm.
I like to figure those things out. Oh, what could be a good fit so that ultimately they can have the kind of experience that I did.
Mhm.
I don't think I would have gone on to coaching and doing this if I hadn't had such a positive experience and want to share that with everyone. Mhm.
That's a good point. I I mean, I hear this often, and I would say, was it some of the best years of your life
Oh
being
yeah. Mhm.
me too?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't just say that. I really felt that. And I know everyone doesn't have that experience. There's so
Mhm.
much that can happen and you know, but I felt like as far as growing up and maturing and learning how to communicate, how to be a part of a team, how to be away from home, but feel like I was surrounded, by people who really cared about me beyond gymnastics.
Mhm.
And just being in college and experiencing all kinds of new people and just having that foundation to go to every single day, a group of girls and coaches who cared about me. It just made college, I think, even the ups and downs of it, it just made it even better.
Yeah.
So I do think it can be some of the best years of your life. And then the friendships you build are lifelong.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
that's incredible too.
Yeah, it's amazing the connections that I've made. both through my college experience, but I made a bunch of connections during the recruiting process that I still have to this day. And that's just kind of
Yeah.
funny to me. But yeah, I mean, really just even like I think the ability to look back on my college career and to see what things I learned and then to have the ability to learn from those things. I talked with a couple of my either former teammates or former athletes who are coaches now,
Mm-hmm.
and they jokingly say, like, there's no coach who is an athlete who doesn't look back and say, oh man, I wish my coach had been harder on me, or I wish I would have gone after these things. I think it encourages lifelong learning because you can look back on things and say, I learned that then, or look back and say, you know what? I could have pushed myself more, or I could have handled that situation a little bit differently. It really encourages that continued learning, I would say.
So true. What trends are you seeing now that are maybe different in the recruiting process as an advisor?
Yeah, this is something that's actually stood out to me very recently this year. And Jill, you've been doing this longer than I. You can maybe
Mm.
speak to different trends and things over the years. But I have been very impressed at the Division 2 and 3 teams,
Ah,
both with their competitiveness. I mean, I literally was writing down some stats earlier because I thought this was great. Like the top D2 team is ranked at 45th right now, and
that's
they are ranked above 18 Division 1 teams.
okay. Wait, which one is it?
Texas women's.
Oh, it's Texas
Mhm.
Women's. Okay,
Yeah.
because even one of the Wisconsin schools is doing really well too,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. The
Okay.
top, so lacrosse is the top D3 team,
Okay.
and they're ranked above two D1s and three D2s.
Oh, I
So
love
just
that.
like the rising competitiveness
Yes.
of Division 2 and 3, which I think is possibly some impact of the roster
Hmm.
maximums,
Hmm.
catching
Yeah.
some of these athletes who may have gone D1 but didn't have the roster space.
Hmm.
But I also would say I have at least noticed this with in talking with my clients and everything, is these coaches really going after top athletes, not being afraid to reach out to some of those top level tens and say, hey, this is what we can provide you. It's many of our clients, we've talked about this in our meetings, many of our clients competing 10-0 vaults, getting offers and taking offers from D2 and D3 teams. And even just a couple of years ago, that wouldn't necessarily be the case. And so I have just been really, really impressed both with their recruiting and saying, like,
Hmm.
hey, we're going to go after these people, but then their competitiveness rising to that same level.
Yes.
And I think it's great that it's a sport where there's no rule that says a D3 team can't go all the way and win. It's unlikely, but there's nothing holding them back from that. You can qualify to as high as you're capable of within the sport. And I think it's just a really cool thing about the sport.
So they have their own nationals,
Yeah.
right? But an individual could
hmm
qualify to Division 1 national
Yes. I
or
mean,
team.
even nationals.
Oh,
Like
oh,
D2 teams have competed at regionals before.
really?
And yeah,
Oh,
so I
Texas
think it
women's.
was
Yeah.
Bridgeport and Lindenwood, maybe
Oh,
Texas women's too.
oh, that's right.
They've
That's right.
qualified to regionals as a team.
Hmm.
And then we've seen individuals go on and well as well. And I think that just speaks to the opportunities that are out there. Because sometimes, and not saying it's not good to have the goal of like wanting to be a Division 1 athlete. I think there's a lot to be said
Hmm.
about that. But sometimes I think it's good to look or like to let our clients know, like, hey, you know what?
Hmm.
Maybe a D2 team is a good fit for you. Maybe they have the right kind of major and everything, and you can still qualify on to a lot of these different things. Some of them have nicer facilities. Some of them
Hmm.
have, different things that they offer. And so yes, there is that distinction between Division 1, 2, and 3, and some of the rules and like scholarship opportunities and things like that are a little bit different. But I think it goes with it being kind of the smaller world of this sport. The opportunities are there. The opportunities are there for those D2 and D3 athletes to compete and do as well as they can and make it all the way.
I love that. That brings something up because this week, we focused on acrobatics and tumbling
Mhm.
in our promotions or just, on Instagram. And that's another one that I want parents to know. You know what? Gymnastics isn't for everyone in college.
Hmm.
And I've had some of my clients ask about acrobatics and tumbling, and it is so fun. They are, and they're choosing to go that route because of an injury, maybe, or a situation, or um, they're kind of into cheer a little bit. They're not fully doing gymnastics. They're doing gymnastics. They're doing other things in their life, and they want to still go on and do a college sport. And they get picked up for acrobatics and tumbling. They have scholarships. There's more than 50 schools now, and there's 12 Division One programs. So I
Hmm.
just want people to know that you should definitely go to that website, ncata.org, the
Yeah.
ncata.org,
Yeah.
and check it out because they just added another school yesterday.
Yeah, I was just say I just was gonna bring that up, and I saw a post for another one. So I mean,
Yeah.
that is a growing sport,
Hmm.
and their rosters aren't getting cut down. Their rosters are being asked to
Cute.
expand. So the
Hmm.
number of opportunities is growing exponentially in
Hmm.
that sport, and that's something that I will forever push is just opportunities
Yeah.
to be a student athlete, to continue doing the sport that you love. It's so positive to see that growth and just other ways people can stay involved through college.
Yes. Right now, parents should be focused on one thing is going to summer camps, and I
Hmm.
would say A&T clinics this
Hmm.
summer. Start
Yeah.
watching for those. Those come out a little bit later, but
Hmm.
if your daughter is a level 8 gymnast minimum and or a 9, 10 or elite, and they have interest in this, definitely want to look at going to one of those clinics because that's where you really have your eyes open to what they really do. I mean, they have 6 events and I think a lot of gymnasts don't know anything about it. And so they're a little bit turned off by the idea. But
Hmm.
if you actually look into it, it can be they do some of them do some really neat tumbling passes,
Hmm.
and some gymnasts become flyers. Some gymnasts become a base. And they love that. So there's a lot of different roles that they play on those teams. And I think going to the clinics in the summer is a really great way to check it out. And I've heard from those coaches that you don't have to have it all together and know anything. They
Hmm.
want you to come if you have any interest, and they'll guide you, walk you through things, and you don't have to have ever even tried what they do, like, on a floor that has no springs and all that. They're very they really want gymnasts. So they're open to having you come. You don't have to even know anything or have it all together, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. They just want that foundation. That's what they're
Yeah.
looking for. They know they can build on that.
Yes.
Mhm.
All right. So, what else are you seeing in recruits? What would be another area you might want to
Something
share?
interesting that I just happened to kind of find myself in earlier this year. I was at a competition as a vendor, and two of my clients happened to be competing there. So I was chatting with their parents like before the meet started and everything. And both of them, just out of the blue, separately, essentially said their daughter was really struggling with imposter syndrome.
Hmm.
So these are both girls who are already committed to schools, know where they're going,
Mhm.
both juniors. And I think the age aspect has something to do with this, but they were feeling amazing and confident and so excited. And then all of a sudden, the start of competition season came around and they felt this new pressure and stress. They're suddenly feeling like, oh my goodness, like what if these coaches find out that I'm not as good as they thought? And that's where that imposter syndrome comes on. Someone's going to find out that I'm not really who I say I am. And it was just talking through this with these parents and then, like subsequent meetings and things going over just, it's calming their fears.
Mhm.
There's rationale behind it. You want to make sure that you're living up to the expectations, holding up your end of the bargain, essentially.
Mhm.
But just talking about how a great way to combat that is one, communicating with your new coaches, having that open line of communication, talking with them about like, oh, I'm a little nervous about this. I'm really excited about my skills, but this is, what advice do you have or different things like that. But then another piece of it that I kept explaining to my clients and then talking about with their parents is these coaches know what they're doing when they're recruiting.
Mm,
Unless you're lying about your skills, which is a little hard to do in the sport of gymnastics because you have to go out there and compete them. Uh,
mhm,
the coaches know the type of athlete you are. It isn't that, oh, they're going to find out I'm not as good. They know how good you are.
mhm,
They've seen you. If it's gotten to that point in the process and you're committed, they know about your gymnastics. And it's just that settling in of, they know you. Do they expect you to be perfect every time? No,
mhm,
but they do expect you to work hard and continue improving. And it kind of goes down to that control your controllables that coaches love to say, and that we say as advisors as well, is that like, it's so hard to say, don't worry about those things, but you just focus on what you've been focusing on this entire time, improving as an athlete, gaining confidence, gaining abilities to handle stressful situations and things like that. But it was just interesting to be presented with that. And I think recruits or juniors who commit are probably more likely to feel that because they have two full competitive
mhm,
seasons before they join their team. Senior year, it feels a little bit closer.
mhm,
It's a little bit like, yeah, I'm going to be that same person come the fall. But I think that's a struggle with some juniors is just handling that pressure of I need to live up to everything that I did. And it's just that understanding that you already have been, unless you decide to not work as hard or something, externally happens, you're going to continue improving. Whether that's, always looking like this, or maybe you hit a plateau a little bit, maybe it dips a little bit, but you can still find ways to improve through all those different peaks and valleys. And maintaining that consistent communication with your college coaches is a great way to say, like, hey, these are my struggles right now, but this is really what I'm working on, and them to help you as well. They're on this journey with you, preparing you for when you officially become a member of their team. And both my clients have since gone on having much better seasons, but their first meet was rough just
yeah.
because I think that was their first time really feeling a different type of stress.
Mhm,
And I just think that's something with juniors in particular that they're going to encounter. And it's good to be aware of as parents to know like this could be coming. It's
mhm.
good to talk about these things. It's good to say like, yep, the stress doesn't always necessarily go away. Sometimes the weight's off your shoulders, but other thoughts creep into. It's good to be prepared for those.
That's a good topic. I hadn't thought of it that way. Thanks for sharing that. I think people don't realize what, they're like, why do we need to hire an advisor, or whatever. And I think it's amazing the things that come up in our sessions that have
Mhm.
nothing to do with the exact like getting recruited or okay,
Mhm.
now that she's recruited, she doesn't really need an advisor anymore,
Mhm.
and I just think it's so all encompassing because you're right. 2 years is a long time and so much can happen and
Mhm.
so many questions can come up. In fact, all my families that are committed in the fall, but they still have 2 years, I just wrote them emails yesterday and said, hey, I'm here for you. You still have time with me, whatever you need. If you as a mom just want to meet with me, or you as a dad, or you as parents, just to go over stuff, I'm here for you. Or we can include your daughter if things are going on that you, and they sent back the greatest questions. And I just think, recruiting doesn't really end. Even once they get on teams, I still have families hiring me just to walk through stressful things that they're going through. And we expect that, that could happen. And I think that's why I called it consulting or advising because it's very broad-based sometimes.
Mhm.
It's not just about getting recruited.
Yep.
So thanks for sharing that. That's a really good topic. I think I haven't really explored that much with sharing. So last question, what are the three top items you are seeing in gymnasts who do well in the recruiting process?
Yes. There's three kind of, I mean, they're different, I guess. I would say three things. One is athletes who are confident.
Mm,
And now that does not necessarily mean outgoing,
mm,
because we all have different personality types. You don't have to become a different personality type just because you're going through the recruiting process.
Hmm.
But it does, for many people, take practice to be able to say something confidently, to
Hmm.
have the confidence to send things consistently, to speak up, to make and take those phone calls. That's a big piece of it. Because
Hmm.
oftentimes I've noticed it's a lack of confidence keeping them from sending out enough update emails. Because they're like, well, I'm worried. I haven't improved as much as I need to. It's like, it's okay. You can talk about small improvements. You can talk about their team. You need to be confident enough in yourself and this process to still be able to reach out, even if you don't feel 100% about how your gymnastics is. Um, and another thing is discerning athletes who are really doing a good job of looking at what teams are out there and doing a great job saying, where do my skills best fit in? And that doesn't mean let go of your dream school and not having a couple reach programs on there. That's not a bad thing. That gives you big goals to work towards. But really, truly evaluating, okay, here is where my skill level is at. Here's where my execution is at.
Hmm.
Yes, I have some upgrades in the works, but what teams would fit with where I am now? And including those on their list. They make progress because they start getting traction earlier. They get responses, they get practice communicating with these coaches, and then maybe we incorporate more of those upper level teams and they're already practiced and ready to go with communicating with them. And the last thing is more gymnastics related, and this is kind of fun, but the athletes who really take the time to focus on their presentation. So form is a big thing. That's just the sport, but I'm talking about beyond form, posture. The athletes who lift their chin at the end of each skill, who begin going into their skills on beam, not hunched over like this, but standing tall, lifting gait, who extend and finish all the way through their fingernails,
Hmm.
those little detail things that can be incorporated instantly, maybe not instantly, but they can make that change without having to do 20 reps of something. Yes, you're always working on improving your leaps and getting closer to 180 and improving your handstands, but you can lift your chin.
Hmm.
You can stand a little taller. You can make eye contact in your floor routine. Those details show those college coaches that you're prepared to be on the college stage. You are thinking about those details. I shared this story with a lot of my clients and JH50 people and things like that. But this last year at Level 10 Nationals, I was standing with a couple of college coaches and we were just kind of chit-chatting about things. And one of them, and we are over by the floor exercise. And one of them said, "Oh, my client and my commit's going right now." And so we just kind of, we're still chatting, but watching her go. Nothing really big and exciting. She did double back. I think she ended up stepping out of bounds and nothing crazy. But her performance was amazing.
Wow.
And it wasn't that she was this amazing dancer, but she gave it everything.
Hmm.
And pretty soon we all stopped talking. We were just watching her. And when she finished, all of us kind of turned to that coach and said, well, she's ready for college.
Hmm.
That made an impact to us. Yes, I mean her tumbling was pretty standard. There was nothing necessarily that stood out. She would meet requirements, that's great, but that performance level. College is a spectator sport. Those college coaches want to not only get good scores, they want people showing up to their meets. And so that performance aspect is huge and it can help recruits stand out amongst others. And really, the ones who have that performance level often are more successful in the process because the college coaches know, check, they already got that one thing figured out. We don't have to work on that when she gets here.
That's good. I love that. And I agree with you because I've sat at 20 of those national champs
Yep.
recruiting girls, and you do, your eyes all kind of go towards
Yep.
the one who's performing
Hmm.
with confidence.
Yep.
And doesn't mean they're doing, sometimes the bigger skills will catch your eye,
Hmm.
but honestly, those girls that have bigger skills but don't perform, you just, oh, you go, wow, they could be so amazing,
Yes.
you
Hmm.
know? But it is the ones who have that little bit of performing twinkle in their eye or like smile or just, like you
Hmm.
said, holding themselves really tall throughout the entire routine. It's little things that
Hmm.
everyone can do, right? And a
Mhm.
lot of girls feel stupid doing it. I know
Yes.
from coaching. Like,
Pulling teeth to say like it's okay to look up during your
yeah.
floor routine.
Ah, so there
Mhm.
is that girls have to get past. And but I think
Mhm.
I know as a coach, like I wouldn't count a routine if they didn't do it. So they had to
Mhm.
start over,
Yep.
because sometimes that's the only way when they felt forced, because most gymnasts, a lot of times they feel embarrassed.
Mhm.
But so any of you club coaches out there, hold them accountable to that because they will rise to it and
Mhm.
they will almost feel better when they're forced to do it versus choosing it because they don't want to look like they're showing off.
Yep.
But actually, it builds a really good habit if you don't count the routines if they're not doing it. It's amazing. Gymnasts rise to the occasion. It's
Yes,
exciting.
very much so.
Well, thanks, Andy. This has been really good. You hit on some
Sure.
topics that I think are unique to our sport, and I think a lot of parents. I love the D2, D3 tips that you gave, and just keeping our eyes open at all your opportunities, including acrobatics and tumbling as well. So, and thanks for being here and being one of our advisors. I think you really do add to our team a lot. And I love your experience and all your, it's neat to see how all those years that you've been involved in the sport, I know is touching a lot of lives when you help our clients. So thank you so much. And everybody out there, if anyone wants to be a part of JH Consulting, all you have to do is go to our website, jhicksconsulting.com, click on Get Started, and you'll just scroll down to the forms pages and it'll explain what we do. And then you click on your sport, fill it out, and press submit. And one of our advisors will typically give you a call, the parent a call within 24 hours. So. All right, make it a great rest of your day. And we hope all of you that are headed out to meets this weekend, that your daughters have a great meet and that you have fun as a parent.